You can see where culture comes in. Okay, so like great example, the schizophrenia thing. People started figuring out in the 1950s, scientists, that schizophrenia wasn't caused by bad mothering, it was caused by neurochemistry. And it had zero impact on psychiatry and family members of people with it had no impact at all until something amazing happened in the 1980s. Phil Donahue was the Oprah of the time, who turned out he had a relative with schizophrenia, and he invited on
The
this
talk show host,
very, yeah,
Phil Donahue, the talk show
very,
host.
very persuasive biological psychiatrist who did something amazing. He held up some of the first brain scans that were just being published at the time, showing structurally there's differences in the brains of people with schizophrenia. And whoa, look, you can look at the picture of it. And that was the transformative moment. So you could say, okay, so why do we have a culture where it took someone like Phil Donahue to have us rethink this? Why do we have a culture where it takes Caitlyn Jenner appearing on the cover of whatever magazine that was for people to say, oh, this trans stuff, sometimes people just feel like they're a different sex than what their biology, and that why'd we wind up being that kind of culture? Why'd we wind up having a culture in which certain values are glorified and in other cultures exactly the opposite? How were you raised? Depending on what culture, is a difference in how many seconds on the average you would cry before your mother would pick you up. Were they training you to be tough, or were they training you to feel safe? And just each time that happened, your brain got constructed a little bit differently. And at each one of these steps, it goes on like that. And how do you, what makes somebody an ex white supremacist? What went into that? All of these things can change. And the cultural changes and the biological changes are totally intertwined. And what we're getting at here is like the worst conclusion to come out of this with is, oh, there's no free will. Nothing can change. Things change enormously. All you have to do is understand where the buttons are.